What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another very exciting video. In this video, we're going to be talking about Palantir, and their CEO, Alex Karp, came out with a very interesting interview on Bloomberg where he talked about whether or not he is sure Palantir should even be selling the AI technology that they have because of how powerful it is. So what we are going to do is we are going to go over some of the key topics in that interview, and I'm going to give my opinion on them, and then we're going to take a look at Palantir's financials and their valuation of the company. So if you enjoy the video, make sure you drop a like down below, and if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. Before we get into all of that, let's go ahead and take a look at Palantir's chart. Here today, they basically traded sideways. Over the last 5 days, up 13.25%. Over the last month, we can see that they are up almost 100%. This has been an absolutely insane run over the last month by Palantir. If we look at the last 6 months, we can see that the stock is up 102%, and year to date, the stock is up almost 130%. So absolutely insane moves up from Palantir over the last couple of months. So here's the interview that we're going to be taking a look at today, and it was published on June 1st of 2023 at 1:07 p.m. on Bloomberg's website, and I'm sure you could find it if you Google search the title here, Palantir CEO, not sure we should sell our AI to some clients. And the first clip that we're going to take a look at is in reference to demand. He has some very interesting things to say about how many phone calls Palantir is getting on their product.
You said the demand is huge.
Yeah.
Can you quantify it in some way?
Well, you know, usually we've had a number of inbound calls in a year that we usually have in a year in like a month. And then if we're at a conference, if you go next door, there are customers showing potential customers how to use our product. It's
in a demo sense.
Well, it's on real data. It's things that they've done. So right now, the whole world is hungry for something that it understands as AI, which is really AI or large language models.
So obviously there are a couple key points there. The first one I want to talk about is demand. Alex Karp brings up that demand has skyrocketed. They are at 12x where they were a year ago. That means they're getting 12 times as many calls as they were last year, which is absolutely insane to think about. But before we get too hyped on this, I do want to remind people that just because they're getting 12 times as many calls, it does not mean their revenue is going to 12x. It all depends on their conversion. It is going to be important to understand that there are people who are going to call players like Palantir who are at the forefront of the industry just to get an understanding of what this technology means for their business as well as for their competitors' business. So they may not directly convert, at least in the short term. In the long term, they may look to bring on this software. But right now, again, it's just important to keep in mind that just because they're getting 12 times as many calls, it doesn't mean their revenue and their EPS is going to go up by 12x. In my opinion, the more interesting part of that clip is the second portion where Palantir is sitting at conferences and they have their customers explaining Palantir's technology to potential customers. This is absolutely massive for a couple of reasons. One, those customers have nothing to gain from showing these competitors their technology. They actually have more to lose by really bringing their customers into this AI technology and exposing them to that. So the fact that they are going in and talking about Palantir's technology really speaks volumes about how much it can do for the business. The second thing is that you don't have someone trying to sell them this technology. They're showing them this technology. They're saying, hey, this is how we are using it. And those potential customers are seeing it and immediately seeing the business impact because of how their competitors' businesses are being impacted by this technology.
And what does that mean? It means you get all the benefits of a large language model in your enterprise today. Not in 5 years, not something that writes poetry. We're not offering people poetry writing in their enterprise. We're offering things that are so powerful that in reality, I'm not sure we should even sell this to some of our clients, like national security.
So there we have Alex Karp saying something very interesting. He's talking about whether he's not sure we should even sell this product to some of their customers. And in my opinion, this probably isn't the right thing to say. A lot of people right now are very apprehensive to AI technology. They don't think that it is the right path forward, and they believe that it could be very, very dangerous to humanity in general. And for you to say that there are clients that could potentially be misusing that technology, that could be very concerning, not only to the public, but also to the US government. And the US government obviously has a number of contracts with Palantir, which is a benefit. However, it could still bring in some regulation for the industry that could negatively impact Palantir's business.
US commercial industry is the most adaptive in the world, and they are hungry Our clients are hungry for things that will give them a disproportionate advantage on margins, on safety, on secure use of LLMs, on making sure this is not just some poetry recreating what somebody said, but actually can create actual tangible difference. And we are rolling it out, and we're very happy.
There we had a clip from Alex Karp talking specifically about their US commercial demand. And we have seen that also presented in their numbers in their first quarter earnings. We can see here that their US commercial revenue grew 26% year over year to $107 million. We also have their government revenue growing 22% year over year, and their US commercial customer base count increasing 50% year over year. So clearly there is a lot of demand from the commercial space, and that is only increasing year over year.
During that earnings call, you said, we have no pricing strategy. We're going to create a lot of value, we're going to get hundreds of customers, and we will price it as we go. Have you made any progress on pricing strategy since that point?
No. Why? Okay,
Why so relaxed about it?
Because it's like one of these things, like when you go to a bar, you know everyone wants to meet you. Do you have a pricing strategy when you go to the bar? No, you're like, oh, I'm cool. I know we have the best product on the market. I know customers will pay us fairly. I know that it's much more valuable than anyone will understand until they install it. And we will sort out. To make it like slightly academic, I believe in Pareto optimization. We are going to create a lot of value, and we're going to get some portion of that value. And customers are smart. They'll pay you some portion of the value. Why should just as an axiomatic thing, if you have a software product, you always want to get paid after you deliver value. If you've got a PowerPoint, something that doesn't work, something that's not valuable, you want to get paid before you create value. We know it's valuable. We know it's much more valuable than people understand. We know we're going to continue to augment that value, and we're going to get paid along the way.
So again, here we have another very interesting clip from Alex Karp talking about their pricing strategy. And I think this is something that in the past has been seen as a very negative aspect of the business, the fact that they really don't have a strategy around how to price their product. But in my opinion, what they are doing is they are playing the long-term game. They are providing as much value as possible and trying to get customers in the door. And that is going to be the first step. A lot of these customers have not been exposed to AI technology. AI technology has really been at the forefront for the past 6 months, and that is it. And customers are now finally playing catch up, and they don't want to jump into multi-million-dollar contracts that they are going to not really understand how the technology is going to affect their business. They want to get in, they want to see how the technology really impacts the underlying metrics of the business, and then they will sign larger contracts. And I think that is what Palantir is really focused on. They're saying we want to get customers in the door, get them using the technology, get them comfortable with it, and then we will start pricing them appropriately.
On an infinite market, Bloomberg Intelligence put out this research report this morning that says generative AI as a market will be 1.3 trillion in 2032. That requires compound annual growth of about 40% a year from this point over a decade. Do you see that as realistic?
Well, what I see, I don't know.
Based on the markets you operate in.
Look, these experts just make stuff up. But what we know is this is a large, basically impossible to measure market. And what we also know is everybody in the U.S. is going to find ways to become more efficient and better using software, and a lot of that software is going to be AI driven. We also know that the market over time, not in a quarter, will end up picking the best products.
Overall, I really like this response from Alex Karp on the growth around the AI sector. They're talking about 40% potential growth in the sector year over year for the next 10 years to hit this benchmark number. And really, Alex Karp kind of comes out and says that analysts come up with these numbers out of nowhere and they aren't always backed by data. So really what that leads to is, there could be even more growth in the industry or even less. Who knows? Nobody knows how much this industry will grow in the coming years, but Alex Karp is certain that their product is one of the best products in the marketplace, and that is what is going to ultimately attract customers. With the amount of growth that is being projected more recently over this industry, I think analysts will start to bring up their price targets and their earnings estimates. So what we have here is currently analysts are expecting an average estimate for Palantir of 21 cents in EPS this year. We have a low estimate of 20 cents, a high estimate of 23 cents. For next year, we have some interesting numbers because the average estimate only increases by 4 cents to 25 cents. We have a low estimate of 21 cents and a high estimate of 29 cents. If analysts are expecting an average growth of 40% and we take 21 cents multiplied by 1.4, we actually get what their average estimate should be is 29 cents, which right now is the high estimate that that we're seeing here. So overall, if we see even a little bit of additional growth on top of that 40%, we should start seeing some of these analyst numbers being beat in a very significant way. Based on these current estimates, Palantir is trading somewhere between a 45 to a 50 forward PE ratio. If we consider the fact that they could come in and start beating those earnings expectations, it's only a matter of how much they beat by, and we could start seeing these forward PE ratios dropping in a fairly significant way. Obviously, I believe if they come in and start beating on a lot of their earnings, we'll also see their price move up in a very significant way as well, and that will obviously keep driving up this valuation. But a 45 right now is really not an insane valuation for a company like Palantir that still has a tremendous amount of growth in front of them. So with all that said, personally, I am a shareholder of Palantir. I do like the company for the long term. I think they have a lot of growth in front of them, but I also agree with what Alex Karp said, that a lot of these analyst projections are really just up in the air. They come up with a number and they throw it out there. And oftentimes when an industry is going through a hype cycle, you will see these projections come out and be fairly inflated. So I think that is one thing to keep in mind. We could see growth numbers that are actually in the 20 to 30% range for Palantir. I think that would be a lot more reasonable, a very conservative expectation. And I think if they start coming through with, 40% numbers, I think that would be excellent growth for the business. So with all of that in mind, keep in mind that I am just some random guy on YouTube. Do not buy a company just because some random guy on YouTube talked about it. Make sure you are doing your own research as well as looking into companies that meet your time horizon as well as your risk tolerance. So with all of that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. And as always, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day.